I'm Ken. This is Losing It 2025. Welcome to the Week 21 update. So, what do you think of my new digs? This will be my studio for tonight and maybe for the foreseeable future because my normal studio, my classroom, is not available since I am no longer at school. So, how did this week go? I'll be happy to share that with you in just a moment. Hey, so this week from a dietary perspective has been really successful. I lost a total of 3 pounds this week, and I did it primarily by eating the same foods that I've been eating, but I did make a couple of changes. One thing that I did differently was I didn't track my meals as stringently as I had previously. Usually I would track in the morning and in the afternoon through lunch. But then once dinner came around, I would intentionally stop tracking because I knew roughly how many calories I had to work with, but I didn't want to focus on the caloric budget. Instead, toward the end of the day in particular, I wanted to focus on two things. Number one, how late was I eating? The earlier I stopped eating, the better. And number two, was I actually hungry? So I tried to be more mindful about how I was actually feeling. And if I didn't feel hungry, then regardless of the number of calories left in the budget, it was time to stop eating. And so that was one change that I made this week. And actually it was two changes. Change one was I tried to be more mindful of what I was eating, and if I wasn't hungry, I just didn't need to eat. I didn't feel as though I had to spend that entire calorie budget, right? And the other thing that I did is I focused on trying to have my largest meal in the middle of the day. I'd usually start each morning with a smoothie, have a pretty large lunch, and then a relatively light dinner by comparison. And that seemed to work pretty well because at the end of the day, I was 271 pounds when I weighed in this morning. And that brings me to a weight loss of about 3 pounds. And I'm really, really happy with that. Hey, so another thing that I did differently this week is I actually made it to the gym. I've been talking about the fact that I was going to go for weeks now, and guess what? School is finally over. I have the time to begin to work this into my schedule, and today was my first day. So I ended up walking on the treadmill for quite a while. I did about 2 miles on the treadmill. I had intended to only do, about 10 minutes, but I just kept going. I was feeling good. I was feeling like walking. So I did 2 miles on the treadmill. And then after that, I did a full body workout, upper and lower, worked about 7 different machines there. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail at this point about what I'm doing or what my workout routine is like, because really, I don't care that much about it right now in terms of the actual routine itself. I looked up a workout routine online and that's what I'm following, but my primary focus at the moment is twofold. Number one, to begin to move and to use these muscles and joints again, which I haven't done in a while, and just get used to moving. But number two, and probably more importantly, is I want to develop the habit of going on a regular basis. I'm trying to establish those behavior patterns that are going to get me off the couch, into the car, and down to the gym. So my goal at this point is to do 3 or 4 days a week on a day on, day off approach. So some weeks will be 3 days, other weeks will be 4 days. It just depends on how it all washes out. But I am back. I am going to the gym. And honestly, after my first workout, I kind of took it easy. I didn't push myself too hard. I don't want to do it. I don't want to work so hard that I don't feel good enough to go again in a day or two. But I definitely felt my own sense of weakness, right? I could tell that I haven't worked out in a really long time. And the weights that I was putting on the machines that I was using were not as heavy as they used to be because I just haven't done this in such a long time. I couldn't do the reps at the higher weights. And so I'm trying to be sensitive to that, be smart about it, and just get in there and get after it and give it a try. And that's what I'm doing. And my goal is to establish the pattern of going on a regular basis so that when the school year starts again next year, it's just something I do now. That's my goal. I've got a workout partner. My son is going to be going with me at least half the time, I'd say. And so I messaged him today. We scheduled our next workout. And so I'll be back there on Friday going at it again. So today's Wednesday, going to take Thursday off, and then Friday I'll be back at it. But on the off days, I still plan to walk. So I'll still be walking, getting some movement in. But yeah, strength training is back. A couple notes about that. I definitely felt out of place for a couple of reasons. Number one, I was probably the oldest person in the gym today. Now, I'm sure there are older people than me who go to the gym on a regular basis, but today I was the oldest one there. Number two, I was probably the least fit person there. A lot of the other people that were there had clearly been going for some time and definitely knew what they were doing. And the third thing is, I was definitely, and this surprised me, it shouldn't have, but I was the least fashionably dressed person there. Some of y'all really, make sure you look good when you go to the gym. You're dressed in, matching this and that, and everything looks great, and you look like you know what you're doing. All of those things combined, if I were a younger, more self-conscious individual, might have made me feel out of place or awkward. But the reality is, I just don't care that much. I'm there to get healthy. I'm there to begin to move and to make an investment in my own health and well-being. And given that, I was happy to be there. Didn't care that I was the oldest, least fit, and most unfashionably dressed person in the building. You know what? That's just the way it is, and I'm fine with that. I'm just happy to be back. Hey, so one last thing I'd like to share with you today, and that is I am going on vacation. And I've got to be honest, I'm a little nervous about it because this vacation is going to be like temptation central when it comes to food and diet. About 2 years ago, my wife and I planned a short cruise for this summer so that we could take the kids with us. We had been on our first cruise a couple of years ago, and we wanted to take them on one, and now we're having the opportunity to do that. But this was planned a good year and a half before I started my whole food plant-based journey. And one thing I know, and you probably know it too, about going on a cruise is the food is amazing, right? There's lots of food. It's very rich food. And there's an abundance of it at all hours of the day and night. And to be honest, I'm a little nervous. One of the things that has been a strength for me as I have been on this whole food plant-based journey is that I've really maintained some good control over the things that I've been eating by cooking them myself, by measuring them myself, by weighing them myself, by knowing exactly what I was eating, what I was putting into the recipes that I made. And now I find myself in a situation where not only am I not going to be doing those things, but I don't really have the option or the opportunity to have the kind of knowledge and the kind of control over the foods that are available to me. Now, I certainly have control over the choices that I make in terms of what I put on my plate and how much of it I eat. And my intention is to maintain a pretty mindful approach to eating. But I have to admit, I don't know what I'm going to do. You see, I'm not an ethical vegan. I'm just a person on a whole food plant-based diet who's doing it in order to lose weight. I'm very, very mercenary in my approach to food. I'm eating this way because I'm trying to accomplish a specific purpose. And so because of that, I don't have any moral objection to indulging when I'm on this cruise. But at the same time, I don't think I really want to throw caution to the wind and just indulge haphazardly. I want to be mindful, I want to be purposeful, and I do not want to sabotage the good work that I have done thus far. So my intention as it stands today is to remain on a plant-based diet to the greatest extent possible while I am on this cruise, with one notable exception. As an anniversary present, my wife had previously, again before I went on this eating plan, purchased a meal for us, a special meal as an anniversary present, and it's called the Taste of Royal, and it's where they bring in specialty dishes from restaurants all across the cruise line and they serve them in this lunch. Honestly, so far as I know, there's really no way to make that plant-based, to make that vegan. There's also, short of them just serving me 5 different salads or whatever the case might be. And there's also no way to refund the money. So I'm a little too cheap to let that go to waste. And I have decided, after discussing it with my wife and my nutritional advisors, as it were, I've decided to go ahead and enjoy that meal as a celebration of our anniversary with my wife. So I will be eating whatever they put in front of me, maybe not all of what they put in front of me, but certainly whatever they put in front of me for that particular meal. But that is, I believe, the last day of the cruise, and my intention, my stated intention, is to try to stay on point and on plan for all the time leading up to that, and then to get right back on plan as soon as that meal is over. So my goal ultimately is to weigh less when I get off the boat than I did when I got on the boat. And given the fact that statistically people usually gain weight on a cruise, if I can accomplish that, I will say mission accomplished, job well done. So those are my intentions. Lord willing, I'll be able to fulfill those, and I'll be sitting here 2 weeks from today, sharing with you how that went. So whether or not this is my last full-length video before I get back from that cruise, I'm not sure. We actually leave next Wednesday, which is the day that I normally post on, and getting ready for the cruise is going to probably occupy a lot of my time between now and then. So I may post another video on Wednesday. At the very least, I'll post some shorts, or maybe there'll be more live stream of consciousness type thing. So you know what? Never mind. I will post something Wednesday, if nothing else, before we get on the boat and as we're leaving port. That should be really interesting. But I'm not getting a Wi-Fi package, so I will not be posting while at sea. Although I will be recording a lot of things, and I will hopefully have some great things to share with you about eating a plant-based diet on a cruise ship when I come back in a couple of weeks. So until then, thank you for joining me for the week 21 update of Losing It 2025, and you have a blessed day.